Please give a warm welcome to Oklahoma City Ward 2 Councilman, the Honorable James Cooper.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for this invite today, and thank you for your time. I won't take up too much of your time with what I have to say. When I decided to run for this role in 2018, I had already lost running once before, and it was against an incumbent, and that sucked. You ever lost something before or been broken up with? And there it is. That's right. That's some Dante Alighieri level of pain, right? You lose something. So I ran in 2014 and 15 was the election, lost, felt that pain of loss, and reached out. And I'm saying this story specifically to, well, everyone in attendance, but I really want my students, not my students, but the students of this university to hear this. I think this is very important. I didn't plan to say this, but just looking out at this crowd, I think you need to hear what I'm about to say. When I lost and came in third of four, I reached out to our Republican mayor at the time, Mick Cornett, and said, hey, can we have coffee? Sure. Now, understand, I did not know Mick, and I'm a Democrat. Like, I'm a progressive Democrat, so this was not a, destined friendship. And he said, sure, let's have coffee. So we go to the Starbucks there in Bricktown, where he lives in the apartment. And I didn't know what I wanted to say. It's almost like you just broke up with someone and you don't know what to say in that moment. And I explained to him that, I just felt lost. I felt like maybe I needed to be in San Francisco or New York City or Chicago, a place that spoke more to the campaign I had run, which was really a campaign about public transit and walkability and just better neighborhoods. I must have seemed like a wreck, actually. And we parted ways. He was on one side of the parking lot, I'm on the other. And I said, hey, thanks again, Mayor. And keep in mind, if I can ever be of any help with public transportation or public education, please let me know. He's on the other side of the parking lot, and he goes, be careful what you wish for. And I was like, did the mayor just threaten me? In front of Starbucks in Bricktown? Go to my car, drive away. I don't really think anything about it. A week later, I receive a voicemail from him asking me to return his call. So I did. And he said, James, how do you feel about serving on our city's Public Transportation Authority? You just heard it in the bio. And I said, we have a Public Transportation Authority? What? And of course, when a mayor calls and asks you to do something like that, you step up, So I did. And I went in there that first meeting, summer of 2015, ready to Bernie Sanders my way, that wagging finger thing that Bernie does. You're doing it wrong. This sort of thing. But instead, what I learned just from sitting down, listening to the director of COPPA and the chairperson of our board, was that this board and the city's public transit department knew all the right things to do. The problem was the city of OKC's budget had not prioritized public transportation. That was the problem. They hadn't prioritized it in terms of funding. So once I realized that there was no reason for me to go in there and be the smartest person in the room, I did what any good student does. I sat down and took notes. And I learned everything I could about public transportation. I attended yearly national conferences on the subject. Took me to places like San Francisco. Get ready. It's the cities I thought I was going to go move to, right? Took me to San Francisco. Took me to New York City. And then there was a moment in early 2019 where a couple things happened, and this is for my students. One, we were about to have a brand new streetcar. It was going to come to downtown Oklahoma City. As a public transit advocate, I was pretty excited about it. But it was going to include Sunday streetcar service. And you might be thinking, James, who cares? What's the problem? Well, let me tell you what the problem was. The problem was the city of OKC had not offered bus service on Sundays ever. And the last time buses ran in Oklahoma City on a Sunday was in 1964-65. And it was a private service that did it. So here I was on this board where for almost 4 years I had voted yes. I like this, we're doing the right things. But when it came time for this moment, I said, no, I can't do that, because the world doesn't stop on Sundays. We have grocery stores to get to, we have parks to explore, friends to see, places of worship sometimes for people who that's your thing. So I started advocating for Sunday bus service. And to my incredible surprise, the city manager heard. And now for the first time in our city's history, the buses run 7 days a week. Young people, that's what we're able to do. That's what we can do. When you get knocked down, you get back up. Get that dirt off your shoulder. And you take notes about where you went wrong. We don't reside in victimhood. We learn how to move from victim out of crisis mode into surviving, into thriving, into excelling. I want to talk to you again about another thing that happened in 2018 when a couple people came to me one after that transit meeting and said, James, are you going to run for city council again? Your predecessor's retiring. And I said, no. No way. And I described it as a punch in the gut. It's like, I can't do that again. It was the mayor's chief of staff, our new mayor, Mayor Holt, also a Republican. You're catching on to a trend here. And I just said, no, I can't do it. I can't lose like that again. And Steve Hill says to me, I hear you, James. That's fine. And he did that thing where he turned away and he goes, but I do want you to know that our city council's missing youth, women, people of color, people who aren't straight. No offense to my straight friends. Good people, I assume. So, that's funny to me. So, Steve says that to me. I walk over to go grab some coffee at Clarity Coffee, and Representative Forrest Bennett, who had been a young Democrat with me, no joke, turns to me and says, James, are you thinking to run again? And I said, well, did you and Steve just talk? He's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, Steve just said to me. It was only those words that could have got me to run again. The lack of youth representation, the lack of people of color, the lack of women. Remember I said I served on COPPA, the transit board. Google News OK, Boards, Trust and Commission and Representation. There was an article that came out around this time of our 200 boards, trust and commissions in the city. Over 3/4 of them, the positions are held by straight white men. That's not reflective of the people who call Oklahoma City home. No offense to straight white men. In fact, my best friend's a straight white man. He's great, loves metal, introduced me to Slayer. Wonderful. But come now, right? So I knocked 4,000 doors from July of 2018 till February 11th of 2019. I was a middle school teacher on the south side of our city, predominantly Hispanic, Latinx, working class white folk, black students, Title I school. And that's when I knew what I needed to do. Having heard Steve Hill, having heard Representative Bennett, I realized that it was up to me. You have to remember this was the year of the teacher walkout. It was up to me to run for council once more, win, lose, or draw, and with one very specific mission in mind: to create a better environment for our students. We live in a state, as you all know, that has the highest adverse childhood experience scores in the nation. On a test of 10 questions of certain traumas, food insecurity, neglect, different types of abuse. Once a kid is at 4, answers 4 of those or more, they are now at disproportionate risk of heart disease, obesity, substance abuse, anxiety, depression, you name it, and Oklahoma is number 1. And I remembered reading Stanford economic research that said that for every year a kid grows up in a better environment, teen pregnancy goes down, college chances go up. They earn more over their lifetime. They have more stable family units and community. And for the kiddo who grows up in the not so better environment, we're talking places associated with crime, segregation, income inequality, and a lack of social cohesion, a lack of community. So I said, I'm gonna go knock these doors and ask people, what are your concerns for your neighborhood and your hopes for our city? And then if you can believe it, I shut up. I say that as somebody who won most talkative my senior year at Choctaw High School. Thank you, person who said that. That's right. So 5 people in my race. I don't come from a fancy family or money. A couple of other people did. And guess who won? And I was strategic about this because we have something called the Metropolitan Area Projects, MAPS. I knew the part 4 was coming of MAPS. We had started it in the early 90s. It's a penny sales tax, temporary. It gets about $100 to $120 million a year accumulation. And we build projects as we go. And I said, guess what? It's time for a MAPS that actually invest in our city's people, our parks, and our places. I will bend city government to the will of the people, and by God, that's exactly what I did. And for the next 10 years of Oklahoma City, we will see $55 million worth of investment in walkability. We will see a new bus rapid transit system to the city's east side, our largely black population, to the south side where those kids that I taught. It will be every 15 minutes a bus rapid transit center coming your way, every 15 minutes like clockwork, covered stations with bike racks and lighting for safety. And there's a new one coming outside of MAPS in my ward, Ward 2, all up along Classen and Northwest Expressway. For the first time in this city's history, in just 1 decade, by the time an 8-year-old today graduates high school in 2031, this city will, for the first time, have a reliable public transportation system. And it will have it, by God, because the good people of Ward 2 said, let's put a teacher in office. Let's put someone who cares about their student in office. Let's make sure that that person looks like the communities that they're representing. Let's make sure that that little queer boy who loves horror movies has a chance to do right by the people, and now here I am. I didn't look to New York City or San Francisco for this vision. I looked to my neighborhood, the Paseo, where 100 years ago, when it began as the Spanish Village, when G.A. Nichols says we will have a new commercial district built outside of downtown that is going to connect people to their basic needs. I looked at that and I said, let's take that vision and bring it into the 21st century. And here we are. And I will see you all again in 10 years. And I cannot wait for the day where I get to go talk to Ward 2 again. Not just in the re-election next year, but 10 years from now, that 8-year-old who will be 18, starting college like you all did, who can use that BRT, who has new sidewalks, who will be the beneficiary of 4 brand new youth centers with access to mental health care, life skills, resume building. And I will look to Ward 2 and I will say to them, look what we built together. Remember your power, friends. Pour into yourself first, because the people around you can only be as strong as you are first. I poured a lot into myself through counseling in a state that said we don't care about counseling. And it's because of that I stand before you today as the city's first openly LGBT council person. As the first biracial person elected outside of the Honorable Councilwoman Nikki Nice's ward. And I look forward to the work ahead. And I have every bit of faith that you will take the torch from my hands. Thank you.